Hey, youth pastor, this is Steve Spence here with Fresh Calling. We all have them. The students that walk into our ministries, they walk into our youth environments, and they never fully engage. What I call are students that are on the wall. And this happens every Sunday, almost every Wednesday night, whenever we're gathering together. There is a student that will walk in that will never engage with anybody in the room, but will quietly walk in, have a seat. We usually have like benches or chairs around the outside of the room, and it's just because that's the way it is. But they will come and they will sit quietly, and most of the time they will go immediately to their phone and they will bury their head in the phone. Now they're present, but they're not engaged. Now, you guys know this just as much as I know this, that a lot of what they are responding to is the environment in which they have come from. COVID is a very real thing. That year where we were shut down, students' anxiety levels were just risen to the top in so many ways. Isolation, different things, social media didn't help the environment at all. But it's not that the students don't want to engage, they're just afraid to engage. Now, and I think that's so true. I think they will walk in the room, they're bravely walking into the room, but they're not doing anything more than that. Why? Because they are afraid to engage with anybody in the room. I think we as youth pastors play a very big pivotal role in helping our students that are coming in on the fringes, engaging them in the life of the ministry and getting them to a place where they can begin to embrace community a little bit better. I have 5 ways that Shelly and I have kind of worked together on this one, and because Shelly's my wife in LPC, but she's kind of helping me how do I create an environment in my student ministry where those students who are anxious and afraid can actually get involved in the ministry. Here's 5 surefire ways, and I practice these things, so I know that they work. The first one is we've got to create a safe space. Now, that's not necessarily like, okay, the fireproof the room. That's being safe too, but the culture in your ministry, what is that culture like? Is it full of grace? Is it full of love? Is it full of acceptance? Is it inviting? Or is it very cold, very shallow? And sometimes our student ministries get to the place where it's just my people. That's all I want is my people. And I'm not going to look past my people at the person that's standing against the wall. And so we got to create a culture in our ministry. And it usually starts with our leaders. Like if you have volunteer leaders, adults, parents, those kind of things, those are usually the first kind of line of defense. Those are the ones that I really kind of engage to help them, hey, go meet that student, go hang out with that student, go be involved in figure out what's going on in their life. And then I try to engage the students in helping them to understand how they can look at the students on the wall differently. The way that I've done it is we use our student leadership team. I have empowered them to be aware of the student that's on the wall. And that's what we call them. We really call them, hey, we got to be mindful of the students on the wall. And everybody on my student leadership team knows what that means. Here's what's so much fun is that when we have a peer-to-peer interaction, more than an adult-to-peer interaction, you know this as much as I know this, it just flourishes even more. And so when you can engage your students and helping them, like encouraging them to take ownership of the culture of the space in your ministry, that's a surefire win. So we want to create a space that's safe for them. The second thing is small victories are good. So start small. You're not going to expect that student on the wall to immediately engage the very first time. Okay, they're going to be very guarded, and it's going to take some time for you to kind of crack the shell, so to speak, and getting them to not just walk in and stand against the wall. They may have to do that 2 or 3 times before they finally walk in and start engaging with other people. I usually tell our students, especially our guests and visitors coming to our ministry, give me 6 weeks. If you just give me 6 weeks coming repetitively, you become a familiar face and everybody else starts to get to know you. And so start small. Small wins are very good. And peer-to-peer is always the best thing. All right, number 3, normalize their experience. So what this means is that we need to let the students know that they're not alone. That, yes, almost everybody in the room is afraid to engage. Almost everybody in the room is struggling with some sort of anxiety. Everybody in the room. So you're doing some things to help foster and care for their heart. and helping them to engage in the ministry and in the environment of what's going on. They're not alone. You know this. You're a youth pastor and you're shepherding a bunch of anxious teenagers. They're all anxious. They're all afraid. They're all on the struggle bus. But that one that's on the wall, that's the one we need to try to help encourage and invite in to be involved in our ministry. All right, number 4 is use gentle encouragements. Here's a couple of phrases that we use. Hey, we'd love to have you join us whenever you are ready. We're not going to, there's no pressure. Hey, this is going to be a fun moment. You're welcome to come in whenever you feel comfortable. I usually encourage our students, just be in the room. If you see what's going on and you are in the room, that helps a whole lot. Don't vote with your feet and leave. If anything, just try it out. Just sit where you are. No pressure. I'm not going to call you up on the stage. I'm not going to get you up on the, in front of everybody. I'm not going to do anything to embarrass you. I want you to feel at home. I want you to be able to feel like you're not judged. No pressure. Come sit with us. So gentle encouragements, little nudges. Hey, no pressure, but this could be fun if you're interested. Come on in. Little things like that can really start to, warm them up to the environment and to your ministry. And then number 5, and this is probably the biggest one, is provide anchors. Anchors are consistent elements that anxious students can rely on. Who's the one person that's going to say hi to them every single time they come? Is that bench or that chair that I was sitting in last week, is it going to be open and available for me this week? Am I going to walk into the same classroom or the same small group that I was last time? And so these small little anchors help the anxious heart calm down a little bit. When you think about the anxiousness of those students, the one thing that you can do to overcome that anxiousness is to provide some sort of consistency and some sort of framework to where they know it's almost like your ministry is predictable. That there's always going to be this moment. There's always going to be, like for us, we always do announcements at the beginning. We always go off into our small groups. Our midweeks, we always start with a countdown. We always start with a song. We always, there's some things that are repetitive and that are foundational to the things that we do each and every week. These are anchors that we can provide for the anxious student. So here's a couple of questions. Are you providing environments where anxious students can feel valued and seen? How can you help students take small steps toward deeper relationships? There's some things that you can do. In what ways can your leaders support students struggling with anxiety? Jesus was patient. He was patient with the people around him, and we need to be patient too. Guys, we can minister to this generation who is anxious, who is struggling, and who's on the wall. We need to be patient. We need to be consistent, and let's be inviting. And we do those 3 things in our condition of our heart and the culture of our ministry. We can really create a moment where students are finally starting to come out of the fog of COVID and start jumping into the life of ministry and building community as they need. Well, I hope this has been helpful. I'd love to hear what are some of the things that you do to help those students on the wall. You guys are amazing. Peace out, homies.